here. What's interesting is that in the distillery, there's maybe one person, maybe two people working in that whole big space because everything's run with pumps and machines and stuff. Back here, we'll have about 4, 5, 6 people at a time. This whole system's relatively new to us, about a year, maybe not even. Before that, we were filling almost by hand with those kind of like 6-bottle fillers that you see the right people filling. So there's one person standing here, spraying off, sanitizing each bottle. We put it through this machine, it's filling, it's capping, it's coming around, and then every bottle gets hand dipped into beeswax. So you see these bottles don't have beeswax, because y'all are gonna wax them for us.
Hey, we get to wax them?
Thing here. Up until about a year ago also, we were using crock pots, like your same crock pot you had at home. Even though there's a little low-high setting, we still couldn't control the temperature that much, and it was always actually a little too hot, and so that the wax was thin. And so for the last 10 years, we've been dipping twice. Let it dry a couple seconds, dip again, and then it was good. With this, we have a little more control. We got the wax to be a little bit colder, it's still hot, but a little bit colder so that it goes on thicker, so now they're only dipping once. And we're doing 2,000 to 3,000 bottles a day, so if you can imagine those seconds that we're shaving off just for those little tweaks like that. So it's kind of, this whole area is like just super fascinatingly engineered in my opinion. If folks want to dip their own bottles, we'll just ask for glasses, so once you have glasses already, and gloves. And I'll show you a little bit the tricks here. So we're not that other brand with the wax leaking all over the bottle. We're going for the opposite look, which is just about halfway down and for as straight as possible and as clean as possible. When you're dipping, you don't want to go directly straight because you'll get a little empty air bubble here. You'll go kind of at an angle, but then you'll end up straight to get that neck totally straight wax. And this whole process is maybe 3 seconds, where it's in, straight, 1, 2, out, and then a couple drops out, and then you're done. Who wants to go first? All right. And you can choose whichever one you want. You have the option to purchase this bottle too, the one you dipped, so you can decide which product you like better. But kind of just take turns.
He's gloving up.
Standing here and doing it like where I was.
Pass this on.
You just keep going to come around. I want to buy it. Yeah.
How much is like?
You want to, it's up to you, I guess. But, yeah. Okay. Just don't drop it in. Great. He's going for that. That's fine. For you. Who's next? Actually, if you want to go kind of towards Richard, that way so we can kind of clear some space. I think that's the best way.
I just got a
So
whiff, yeah.
it smells amazing, and as it dries, it smells amazing. And if you have the bottle in your liquor cabinet at home, your whole liquor cabinet smells.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because I think that's perfect.
Look at that.
I think it's one of the only bottles out there that has a sensory element before you even get into the liquid, so you can already smell something, and that I think really adds to the experience, especially when you crack it open for the first time. It opens up all those. Nice, one-handed.
Nicely done.
Nice.
There's our 2 bottles.
Fun part.
Thanks so much.
Smells so good.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay.
Take one of each. Good. Yeah. Want to go?
We're good, we are.
Wanna
Here.
go?
I'll go.
All right. You should
So 3 seconds.
go. Tilt it up. Now you can pull it out really. Perfect. With the spin and everything. Nice.
One of these. we judge them afterward.
Right?
Straight.
Exactly.
Need some practice.
The worst one has to pay for all of them for everyone else. No. Nice. Anybody else? All good?
Oh, sorry.
So just a few more minutes to hold on to them. Here. The river's dark and the honey can also sell honey. Very simple system. It's just keeps it just enough to get moving. And then after the pallets are made, they're moved into here, more of a
Honey
warehouse
labels.
space. We have unfinished goods, and then all those wrapped up bottles are finished goods. We have about 45 days worth of inventory at a time, which is kind of interesting. You come back in a month and a half, we have just as many bottles, but they're all a new bottle, which is cool. So continue to follow me this way. You'll see the beeswax here and the old crock pots that we're using. So we'll actually use that one to heat them, and then we'll filter the wax a little bit to clean it up. But this is all beeswax. It's all coming from the same apiaries that we're getting the honey from. So it's the byproduct. So the bees are making those little hexagons out of wax. We're scraping the honey off. What's left over is wax. All the empty bottles. The gin has the new green boxes. Eventually the Tomcat will have its own color, probably black, and then vodka too. And then we just released this. This is our fourth product that we've ever released beyond the distillery, our Barr Gin and Tonics in a can. And so the way to do this is we made a tonic first. And tonic has quinine in it. That's the bitter flavor of tonic. Most tonics are just using a quinine extract. We decided to go kind of the old-fashioned route. And we got some of the bark, the tree is called a cinchona tree, and they scrape the bark off similar to how they're scraping cinnamon bark. And that bark has quinine in it, so we're making kind of a tea and a syrup out of that bark with honey and some other botanicals, lemongrass, juniper, citrus. Every soda is basically a syrup with bubble water, so we're making a tonic syrup. And that's why the end product comes out a little bit of a different color because of that barky flavor. Then we send the gin, the tonic syrup, to a partner manufacturer. We don't have a canning line here, and we don't have anything carbonated either. So it's our stuff. Someone else is canning it for us, and we just released this in Vermont distribution, and it's doing really well. And in Vermont, you can sell it like a beer or a wine. So in Vermont, it's a state-run liquor, so selling spirits can only happen in specific stores. This can be sold grocery stores, gas stations, that sort of thing. So it's been working really well for us. Yeah. Any questions?
What about the reserve?
That's the same. That is a Tomcat. Those are just the labels.
Oh, okay.
You just maybe never noticed that it also said reserve.
Yeah, I didn't.
But and then we do some. We have this nice bottling line, so we do some co-packing ourselves. So this is another brand of whiskey. They send us the barrels. We just put them in bottles for them. More honey. So it's a 250-mile radius. So some of it's from New York, some of it's from Canada, actually. The original drawing of the tasting, the distillery. Pretty much concludes the tour. Is there any questions before we get into the lab zone?
Just about earlier on with the honey, like the barrels like that, is any of that top stuff like skimmed off, or is it all just dumped?
It's all dumped and used, and depending on where the honey and what season, we have the ability to kind of test it in the lab and choose what we want to use it for. So like the honey, our favorite honey is reserved to go into the gin because that's honey that's going directly into the product. The vodka is being fermented and distilled, so some of that top stuff and some of the other versions will get sent to the vodka.
Okay, cool.
That makes sense. That's a good question.